We go. Welcome to Back Talks with Dr. Sean McWilliams on this beautiful Wednesday. And do you ever think that like maybe your doctor is not telling you everything that you really need to know about your spinal MRI? Well, if that's the case, I'm glad you're here today because I want to share some stuff with you so that you feel more empowered about looking at your MRI. You don't have to be a doctor to look at your imaging. You just need someone to teach you a little bit about what to look for and how to do it. So I thought I'd share that with you today. So at the end of our live, you're going to feel more educated and feel more empowered about understanding perhaps why you're having back pain or neck pain and how to look at your imaging and to see if it's something that you can manage non-surgically because it's a big thing. So welcome and great to have you here. Hey, make sure you say hi in the chat below. Just realize there's always a little lag, about 30 seconds on both these platforms. So if you ask me a question or you're saying hello, just realize that it takes me about 30 seconds for you to get my answer back. All right. That being said, I thought it would start off. I think it's really cool. You know, MRIs have become obviously a very popular imaging for medical reasons, but most people don't really know kind of how it all began. So I thought I'd give you this cool little fun history of MRI. So let me show you a little bit about this. And so the very first MRI machine, there it is. If you've never seen it, that's what it looks like, which is really cool. And so there's a little bit of a history on the MRI. I won't bore you with all this stuff. Basically, there was a bunch of guys that were working independently. They came up with this idea of using some sort of neuromagnetic resonance and, to create some sort of imaging. So it started all the way back in 1930. It started transforming in the 1940s. With a couple physicists that were working independently from each other, starting to understand that there was properties of solids versus liquids. And that research later became to an MRI scanner to understand the body's water content to develop images. And then in 1952, Purcell and Bloch won the Nobel Prize for physics with it. So I think that's pretty cool. It must have been really amazing when these guys were thinking about this stuff. And then in 1969 is when things really started going to another level. And the next level was Raymond Damadian had hypothesized that magnetic resonances could differentiate cancer cells from non-cancerous cells. I mean, God, can you imagine coming up with that idea? I mean, that's, you talk about changing the world, right? And he successfully demonstrated that in lab rats. He found that different types of tissues and kinds of tissues emitted a different response length with longer response signals from cancerous tissues. So, I mean, this is life-changing, right? I mean, this is still one of the best imaging pieces of machinery that we use today. I remember when this came out. I remember at the hospital that was maybe about 30 minutes from where I lived, and they had the first MRI machine. It was just like mind-boggling to me. So, and it still kind of is, when you study a little bit about it. So I thought it's hard to appreciate your MRI without knowing like how it came to be, I think. So in 1972, Damadian filed for his first patent of MRI technology. He got it approved in 1974. He designed and built a full-body MRI machine, the first MR, magnetic resonance scanning machine, which he called, I love this, Indomitable. And it's now in the Smithsonian Institute. And you know what's cool? That's an amazing word, indomitable. It means like impossible to stop. It's a great word to use to describe your life and your mission. If you have a great mission in your life, indomitable. Nothing can stop you. So I think that's pretty cool. And in July 3rd of 1977, Damadian achieved his first human MRI image, a cross-section of his postgraduate assistant Larry Minkoff's chest. The image revealed some cool stuff. What did it reveal? Well, it revealed this. This is the very first MRI that was ever done on Larry Minkoff, who was Damadian's colleague, and it took 5 hours to complete in that machine that I first showed you. So could you imagine? Here's another view of it as well. And what's really cool about this is you can see some pretty neat stuff. So you can see his lung fields here. So these are his lungs right there. You have the spinal column right there, his heart right here, and musculature as well, which is all this stuff. So could you imagine coming up with this idea and working so hard and actually creating the image for the first time ever? I just think it's really cool. What these pictures are, these are actually the first lumbar MRIs. So when they finally got the technology around, you know, they were pretty good. It's really impressive. You can see a lot of stuff on here. You can see modic changes, which is what you're seeing right here. So when you're seeing these changes to the bone, that's inflammation in the bone. And you know, we don't want to see that stuff right there. So if you're curious if you ever see anything like that, without going too much detail today. So that was your very first lumbar MRI. So that's kind of the end of the history for that today. How do they work? Well, we don't have to watch this video. I'll tell you in basically what winds up happening is you get put into a machine. There's a very strong magnet that most people know about, but there's also a radio station in a way, if you would. So if you've ever had an MRI, anybody's ever had an MRI, what happens is you hear this boom, 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 boom sound inside, and what that is that the radio station creates a certain frequency and it hits your atoms of water, molecules of water, and it makes them wobble like this, and then they come back like this, and then boom, and it does this, and then they start to slow down. And what's happening is that magnet is making them come back up to a certain position. That radio signal hits them, makes them wobble like this, and what they've learned is that all different types of cells wobble at a different speed. And the computer can take these changes in some that wobble really fast versus some that wobble slow and create the pictures of your body with it. So that's MRI physics in a nutshell. And what else? So this is important for you as a patient or someone who's thinking about getting MRI, that there are different types of MRI machines. And most people don't know this. So that's why you have me. If you're going to go spend the time to get an MRI and you're going to go invest some money in yourself, if you're paying it by yourself or you want your insurance to try to do their part to do it, you might as well get the best image quality that you can. And there is a difference in MRI machines. So a lot of people just think they go get an MRI, but that's not the case. So as you can see here on this slide, there's a few, and I didn't go into like every single machine that exists to mankind right now, but I just wanted to give you the basics. You have a 0.5 Tesla open, you have a 0.6, a 1.0, 1.5, and a 3.0. I have pictures here that I'm going to show you in a second so you can understand that. So Tesla just basically means the strength of the magnet. And so let's go look at a couple of these machines, and I'm going to tell you why, what are the benefits to you of using some of these and what are some of the cons. So this is an open 0.5 Tesla magnet. It's great for people who are claustrophobic. So if you can't get into one of the machines, it's a tube, you can usually handle one of these. As you can see, they're very open. There's a couple different types of machines like this. I'll show you on the next slide as well. So the benefits are they're great for people who are claustrophobic. The cons is that you get the lowest image quality and the exam time takes longer. So, but you know, I'll take this over no MRI. It'll at least give you an idea of what's happening. So it's a great start. If claustrophobia is an issue for you, you have another choice, and that would be this, an open standing 0.6 Tesla MRI. I had one of these done once, just so you know. So these are great for people, again, who are claustrophobic. What's cool about this, though, is that it allows for different body positions. Because remember, you know, when you get in most MRIs, you're lying on your back. Well, our bodies change sometimes when you put gravity into structures that normally we're used to, but when you're on an MRI machine, you're laying flat on your back and it doesn't have that type of compression due to gravity. So what's really cool about this machine is that it can lay you back, You can actually do a back bend and get an MRI. You can bend forward and touch your toes and get an MRI for your low back. You can just sit here and watch TV. So it can put different stresses into your spinal column, and that sometimes can bring out things on the MRI that you can't normally see. So pretty cool machine. Still lower grade quality imaging compared to some of the nicer machines. But if you can't do those, these are good alternatives. So just keep this in mind. There's not a lot of these. You got to do a little bit of searching for these. But if you do an open standing MRI machine and you search that, you'll probably be able to find that in your community if you're really struggling going into the tube. If you're not struggling going into the tube, then we can start using a closed 1.0 or a 1.5 or a 3 Tesla magnet. Most of the MRI machines that you're going to come across in your community are usually going to be 1.5s. It's just they've been around for a while. Their image quality is pretty good, so it's much better than an open machine, and faster exam times than a 0.5 or a 0.6. So typically the stronger the magnet for the most part, the faster the exam will be. What's that mean? That means when you're in the tube, you have to be in the tube for a less period of time, and you're going to get better image quality. The cons is that, you're going into a tube, as you can see right here in this picture, and has a smaller bore than a lot of the new 3T machines. So some of the new 3T machines have a bigger hole. They call it the bore. And then, of course, the kind of Ferrari of MRI machines right now is the 3T. They are working on 4T machines. I want you to know that, because I know that you were probably thinking that. Unfortunately, they're struggling a little bit trying to get image quality. Fortunately, it's not just like you put a bigger magnet in, you get better imaging, and like everything works great. There's a lot of physics behind this as well. So they're still sticking at the 3T, but the 3T gives you excellent image quality. So if you're okay being in a machine or a tube that is somewhere around that size, which really isn't all that big, and usually they have like really nice soft lighting in there to help you be really calm and more comfortable, you're going to get excellent image quality. And let me tell you, it really does make a difference. So if you're okay going in there, please ask your doctor to get you in a 3T machine versus a 1.5. Your image quality is much better, and the exam time is less. So it's much faster exam than a 1.5. Most exams are done in 10 to 15 minutes. You're in 10, 15 minutes, boom, you're out, you're done. It's very cool. The only issue could be is claustrophobia. So those are your choices. And yeah, you have choices. A lot of people don't know that. So I thought that it would be really great for you to know that. What else? How does an MRI work? This is important, and it's important for you because you need to understand that, MRI is based off of thickness slices. And so just like when you go to the deli, and they put your luncheon meat there on that machine and slice it, this was one of the guides they used to have at Publix right here, is indicate your preferred thickness by a number. What we ideally want when we're getting an MRI is, I like the thin shaved stuff. And you might too for a sandwich, for instance, but the thinner it is, the thinner the slices, the more image slices that you get. So I love a 1 millimeter slice MRI because, man, you get to see 4 times more than a 4 millimeter thickness, because a 4 millimeter thickness is like a number, like 8 on this scale of thick. What that means is that it takes a picture, does a slice, and then it moves over 4 millimeters and takes the next slice. Well, everything in that 4 millimeter gap, you don't get to see on your MRI. So you can ask your doctor to make sure that they request a 1 to a 1.5 millimeter slice thickness for you for your MRI. It takes longer to do your MRI. That's why a lot of facilities don't like doing it, because they know that they can, bring a certain amount of people in if they're doing 4 millimeter slices. But at the end of the day, it's your MRI and it's your body. And trust me, I have had plenty of MRIs where that one particular part of that image that we wanted to see was in the middle of that 4 millimeters and we couldn't see it. And if that's you, that makes a very big difference in your diagnosis and your treatment. So try to ask for thin slices. Most facilities, I said, will do 4 millimeter. I think we've already gone over all that. And how do you know it's 4 millimeter? Well, look at the red arrow I put right here for you on this picture of this MRI, and you see 4.0. And that is telling you what the tech set the machine for, how thick. Okay? What else do you need to know? Well, all right, you want to see a couple images here for a minute? We're at 20 minutes already. How about we do that another time? And because that could be another 15-minute talk. Marisa's got a question. As a patient, how can I influence my doctor to order the right MRI for me and my condition? Well, the real question, it's a great question, Marisa. I'm glad you asked that. I would say the question that you want to ask is, can you send me to a facility that has a 3T machine? As long as you know you're not claustrophobic. That's going to be one. And the other thing is you ask your doctor, say, I am requesting that the technician schedules me enough time to do a 1 to a 1.5 thickness image slice. And if you do that, you're going to have a really nice MRI. I'm going to let you know that. And it's going to give your doctor a lot of benefits because they're going to get to see 2 to 3 times as more images of your body than they do when they're doing a 4 millimeter slice, okay? So that's what you want to tell your doctor. Yeah, and it'll usually go pretty good, but you know, most patients don't know to ask that stuff, so they just figure, oh, my doctor's got it all under control, ordering me an MRI. But not the case, believe it or not. So I hope that adds some value to your life. I hope you learned something about MRIs and how you can get a better MRI for yourself. If you feel like next week, we can talk about looking at some of the images and some basic anatomy that once I show you what it looks like, you'll know what you're looking at. I can show you some models, and it's really fascinating, and it'll make you feel more empowered. You know, most computers, you can look at your MRI on your computer as long as you have a disk drive there. A lot of people don't think that you can, but you can for most MRI pictures. So I want to let you know that, yeah, you can look at it, and if you know how to navigate the software a little bit, it's not really that hard. You'll be able to look at your own images from home too and try to figure out what's going on. And I'll share some of that stuff with you next week if you'd like. I would have never had it known to say those things or the right to do so. Well, you know, you have the right. It's your MRI, it's your body. You know, no one's going to be a better advocate for your health than you. So own it, and now that you have some great information to be armed with, ask that. And if you got a doctor that doesn't willing to do it, go see somebody else. So, hey Stephanie, great to have you on today. You're so welcome. Hope you learned something. Hey, if you know someone that's suffering with back pain, they're being told that their only option is going to be surgery, please have them reach out to me. Just put in back pain in the DM, and I will reach out to them and say hello. We can set up a Zoom call if they like, and we can look at their MRI together. I would love to help them. 90% of back surgeries that I see right now are unnecessary. I'm letting you know that, people. Have been doing this for 30 years. Unnecessary. Majority of back conditions, especially bulging discs, herniated discs, and a lot of spinal stenosis issues can be managed non-surgically. And believe it or not, you can actually do it from the comfort of your home if you have the right tools and you have the right guidance. So if that's something that is appealing to you and you're looking for a non-surgical approach from a person that's one of the top spinal decompression doctors in the United States, been on the cover of 3 chiropractic magazines for the work that we do, and I only tell you that because I hope it gives you some trust in me that I take this stuff very seriously. I would love to help you. So just drop in back pain in the DM, and I'll reach out to you and say hello and see what we can do to help you or a person that you love. Okay. Happy to share this. Hope you learned something new, and I appreciate you guys always being here and supporting our channel. And I'll talk to you next week.